Okay. Good morning. Today we'll start in Baddha Konasana on our backs, soles of the feet together, knees out wide. So lying down, as you bring the feet together, rest the head and maybe lift the chest so that you get the shoulder blades underneath you. Arms can be out by the sides with the palms facing up, or you could put the hands on the body, left hand on the heart, right hand on the belly. Sometimes that feels nice. You know, you can always go back and forth between the two and see which one's feeling better today. Stick with that one. The closer the feet are to the body, the more intense this is. And you want to feel relaxed here. So if you're feeling any pulling on the inner thighs, groin area, move the feet away from you a little bit, keep it relaxed. You'll get a hip opening and calm the body either way. And then from here, take a deeper breath in through the nose, back out through the nose. Deep breath in through the nose, fill all the way up. See if you can lift the chest. This time, sigh it out the mouth. Big breath in through the nose. Exhale out of the mouth, let it go. Deep breath in again through the nose. This time back out through the nose. Let it out slow. Keep going with this breath, Ujjayi. Feeling the breath move through you. And listening to the sound, making that ocean wave-like sound come from the back of the throat. And as you continue to breathe with your Ujjayi breath, reach the arms overhead, finding a stretch. Keep the legs the way that they are. Unless it's bothering you, you don't have to hold it. Then you'll circle the arms down to the outer thighs to bring the knees back together, using the hands for help. Hug the knees in toward the chest. And you have one hand on each knee. Just take some circles with the knees. Feeling the lower back, hips on the mat. You're going in the same direction. And then switch the circles, go the other way. Come back to center, interlace the fingers behind the head, or you can always support the head with the fingertips. You don't have to interlace the head or interlace the hands. Either one's okay. Keep the feet like we did before. So inner edges of the feet are together, knees wide, and then find a crunch. So bring the arms and the knees together. You're trying to get those knees down toward the underarms. And then from here, bring the chest back halfway and extend the legs out in front of you. So inner edges of the feet stay together. And then you'll bring it back in for that crunch, wide knees, curl up. This time, legs go up straight to the sky. Chest opens up, bring it back in. Knees to triceps. Extend the legs out in front of you, hovering the shoulders if you can. Bring the knees back in, and we'll just keep going like this. Slow and controlled, legs go up. Bring it all back in. Extend the legs out in front of you. Knees in toward the underarms. Extend the legs back up. Knees come in, curl up. Extend the legs out in front of you. Last one. Bring the knees back in. Extend the legs back up. Knees come in, curl. This time, extend the legs out in front of you. Reach the arms forward toward the feet. So that'll lift the chest a little bit more. Belly's hugging in, shoulder blades are hovering, so are the heels. And then maybe you come up to Navasana. You could use the hands, squeeze those inner thighs together. Keep that lift of the chest. Looking up helps as you hug the core in. You're still reaching forward with the fingertips. Inner thighs squeeze together so you keep that engagement and the legs aren't heavy. And then set the feet down, come to an easy cross-legged seat on your mat. And we'll take a gentle twist. So back of the right hand to the left thigh, left fingertips, they don't need to go all the way back behind you. Maybe they just go part of the way. And your twist is only going part of the way. So maybe halfway, maybe a little bit more, but definitely not 100%, just a gentle twist. And you'll start to switch sides, look forward, slowly go over to the other side, getting as much height as you can in the spine. And backing off of the twist enough so you don't feel like you're all the way in it. Bring the gaze back forward on the inhale, reach the arms all the way up. On the exhale, bring the hands down in front of you, coming into a hip opening, another one. So Sukhasana, let the head and the neck go. Again, even here, you're not coming all the way. So keep it gentle, just starting to get into the hips. Start to walk the hands back in toward the body. Bring the hands back behind you. Lean back. Switch the crossing of the legs, bringing the other shin in front. Sitting up tall. You can shift side to side so you feel even on the sit bones. And then from here, reach the arms forward, palms facing up. We'll bring the right arm on top of the left arm. And you can either start with the hands on the shoulders or you can come into eagle arms. So forearms can come together. Maybe the left hand hooks inside of the right hand. You're listening to your upper body to see what it's willing to do today. Shoulders lower down the back, hands move forward over the elbows. And if this is feeling pretty good, stay here. If you want more, you could start to reach the hands and the forearms up, and that creates a deeper opening across the upper back. But you just listen to your body without too much force. Give it a gentle opening. And the upper body is a really tight area for a lot of us. So, be comfortable with wherever you are, where you're feeling the stretch is where you need to be. And if you lifted the forearms and the hands, bring the elbows back in line with the shoulders, reach the arms forward, palms facing up, and we'll switch sides. This time, left arm on top of right. Either start with the hands on the shoulders or play with bringing the forearms together. Maybe the right hand hooks inside of the left hand. It doesn't have to. Still sitting up really tall, elbows at the height of the shoulders, move the hands away from the face. And then you can play with maybe lifting the forearms up. And it might be a different sensation on one side over the other. Bring the elbows back in line with the shoulders. If you lifted them, unwind the arms down by the sides. Inhale, reach the arms all the way back up. Exhale, forward fold. Bring the hands down in front of you. Start to walk the hands forward. If there's enough space, let the head and the neck go. And if the hips are really tight and you're not able to reach the mat in front of you, you can always bring the hands back behind you, lean back, and just work those knees down toward the mat. That works too. Start to walk the hands back in. We'll come up to all fours, tabletop. Coming to hands and knees. And we'll get ourselves set up for cat-cow. We will be doing vinyasas today. If you want to change the orientation of the hands, you could turn the hands out to the sides or the hands all the way around if there's enough mobility in the hands, wrists, and forearms. Also, one hand forward, one hand back works if it's not quite right to have both hands going in the same direction. And you'll start your cat-cows, inhaling, reaching the heart forward, lifting the tail, and exhaling, rounding the whole spine. Go at your own pace. You're welcome to add more movement, take away movement. Listening to your body and seeing what it needs. One more round wherever you are. Come back to a neutral spine. If you have the hands turned around, just turn them back so that the fingertips point forward. And then step the right toes back behind you. Keep those toes down on the mat. And you can start to circle that right heel, like you're drawing circles up on the ceiling, going in one direction, and then you can go the other way. And that's a nice way to start to get into that right leg. Then you'll start to come to stillness. Right heel comes down, walk it back so that the toes of the on the left foot point toward the arch of the right. Left hand can come out to the left. That just gives you a little bit more stability to start. Right arm reaches up. So you're coming into a modified Vashisthasana, modified side plank. So that right hip, it wants to go up toward the sky. Your job is to keep it pointing straight forward. You're pressing out through that right leg. Right foot can stay down on the mat, or you can start to play with lifting the right leg up, heel to hip height. Stay right here, or maybe you reach back with the right hand, right arm, bend the right leg, see if the foot's there. If it's not, skip it, just go back to where you were. If you do grab it, lengthen that right quad away from you, keep reaching the chest forward, and keep some energy in that left hip. With control, release the right foot, reach that right arm back up. Right hand comes back down to the mat. Right knee comes back down to the mat. Set yourself back up in tabletop. Left toes go back behind you, and we'll just play with those circles again, going a few times in one direction and then switching and going the other way. Come back to stillness. Left heel turns down toward the mat. Walk that foot back till the arch is centered with the toes of the right foot. Right hand out to the right. Left arm reaches up. Modified side plank. So locate that left hip bone, point it forward, keep it pointing forward. You'll probably get more energy in the whole leg too when you do that. And then pressing out through that left sole of the foot, maybe you play with lifting the left leg. See how that goes. It can always come back down if it's too much. Left arm can reach back. So you're moving the shoulder away from the ear. Point those left toes and then bend the left leg, reach back. See if the foot's there. And you know to skip it if the hand and the foot aren't connecting, or if your balance is just off, that's fine too. Lengthen that left quad away from you. Keep reaching the chest forward, toning the belly. If you have the foot, gently release it. Keep that left leg strong as you reach the left arm back up to the sky. Left hand comes back down to the mat, left knee down to the mat, back to tabletop. Bring the forearms down to the mat. So you're trying to line up the shoulders right on top of the elbows. Hands and forearms are pressing firmly into the mat. You're going to step one foot back, then the other, and you're in a forearm plank. So legs are strong, belly hugs in, you're reaching the chest forward. Keep that energy in the forearms and the hands pressing down into the mat, and then see where else you can engage. Those inner thighs need to help. So it's like you're squeezing a block between the thighs, and you're keeping the hips right in line with the whole body. So they're not lifting, they're not drooping. And then we'll slowly set the hips down onto the mat, tops of the feet to the mat, Sphinx pose. So those bottom tips of the shoulder blades are pushing the chest forward and opening it up wide. And then the back of the neck stays long. Look down the bridge of the nose. Tops of the feet press down into the mat, belly hugs in. And it's almost like you're trying to isometrically pull the hands and the forearms back to reach the chest forward. Then you'll look down at the mat, tuck the toes underneath you, fire up the legs, fire up the core, bring yourself back to forearm plank, get as long as you can, find that engagement in the whole body. So everything's working. You're not just favoring your strongest muscle groups. Stay with your Ujjayi breath. One hand at a time, plank pose. Bring the knees down to the mat, big toes together, child's pose. Sit the hips back, rest the forehead down to the mat, and then crawl those fingertips as far forward as you can, keeping the forearms lifted away from the mat, elbows lifted away from the mat, pressing down into the hands. Then look forward at the hands, downward facing dog. Shift up onto the knees, tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back. Maybe pedaling out the feet. And maybe taking a wider stance if you're feeling any tightness in the legs. Giving yourself a little bit more space in downward facing dog will help with that. It's such a good stretch for the whole body. So it's nice to know all the different levers you can pull to make it work for you and whatever you're feeling in your body. So we never want to go narrower than hip width distance with the feet. So there's some separation in the feet. And then here, inhale forward to plank pose. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Stay in downward facing dog, or if you want more of those, we're doing 2 more. Inhale forward plank pose. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Inhale forward plank pose. Stay here if you want more. Chaturanga. Back up to plank pose. Downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, lift the right leg, open up the hip. You can bend the knee if you want to. Just keep pulling that left hip back and stay even in the shoulders. Right knee's lifting up high. And then start to step that right foot forward, up between the hands, coming into a runner's lunge. You can come up onto the fingertips, you could use blocks, but getting a little bit of height in the chest feels pretty good, especially for the first lunge. Then straighten the front leg, stay high on the ball of the back foot, let the head and the neck go, modified pyramid pose. Inhale forward to your lunge. Exhale back pyramid. 2 more like that. Inhale forward lunge. Exhale back pyramid. Inhale forward to your lunge. Exhale back pyramid. This time, inhale forward to your lunge, left hand down, right arm up. Find a twist. Keep that left leg strong so it doesn't relax. Open up the right side chest and shoulder. Keep that left shoulder moving away from the ear. Right hand comes back down to the mat, step straight back, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts up and back, open up the hip, bend the knee, maybe. Keep pulling the right hip back, stay even in the shoulders. Maybe that right heel comes down closer to the mat. Left foot steps up between the hands. Take your time. Find your runner's lunge on this side and maybe a little bit of a lift in the chest. Then straighten the front leg, pyramid pose. So both legs straight, high on the ball of the back foot. Inhale forward to your lunge. Exhale back, pyramid. Inhale forward to your lunge. Exhale back, pyramid. One more. Inhale forward, lunge. Exhale back, pyramid. This time, inhale forward to your lunge. Right hand underneath the right shoulder. Left arm reaches up. Find that twist. Right heel still stretching back behind you. Left hand comes back down to the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Glide forward to plank pose on the inhale. Lower yourself all the way down on the exhale. Tops of the feet come down, setting up for cobra. Hug those outer elbows in. Lift and spread the chest. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. You could take hands and knees to get there. Make it soft. And you continue to stick with hands and knees every time you go back to downward facing dog, or you can take plank if you're looking to fire it up a little bit more. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Just step or walk for this first one. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Two more. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. This time we're coming all the way up. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Bring the hands together overhead and down in front of the heart. Surya A. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bring the hands to the mat, bend the knees, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga. Your choice for back bend, cobra or up dog. Back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. All the way up on your inhale, circle the arms out wide, bring the hands together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, back to plank. Lower down on the exhale, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. One more round. Bend the knees, look forward, feet forward. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold. All the way up on your inhale. Take your time. Bring the hands together when you get to the top. Exhale, bring the hands down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway to chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts up and back. Open up the hip, maybe bend the knee. Step the right foot forward, up between the hands, back to a runner's lunge. Feet are hip width distance apart. Start to ground down through the feet and the legs and get light in the fingertips. Maybe you even hover them away from the mat. And then use that strength to bring yourself all the way up to Crescent Pose. Bend the back knee in Crescent Pose. So you're coming into a deeper lunge. You can skip this, but what's nice about bending the back knee is it gives you some space in the lower back. And then you could work toward a straighter back leg that doesn't have to be all the way straight. Spin that left heel down flat, open up warrior two. So right foot needs to come in toward the center a little bit. Flip the front palm up, reach up and back, and straighten the front leg. So you're in reverse triangle. And you're pushing the mat away from you with that right leg. We're coming into extended side angle. Bend the front knee, right forearm, right thigh. Reach the left arm up and over. Keep opening up across the chest and hugging that outer right hip in. Trying to keep that right knee from caving in. Back up to warrior two. Hands come down to the mat, step back to plank pose. Your choice, downward facing dog, or maybe you take a vinyasa on the way. Skip any vinyasas you want, modify them. They're always up to you. Left leg reaches up and back, open up the hip, bend the knee. Left foot steps up between the hands, feet hip width distance apart. Start to drive down through the feet and the legs. Get light in the fingertips, looking forward. Maybe you hover the fingertips and then reach the arms forward and all the way up, Crescent Pose. Once you get to Crescent, you can play with bending the back knee, keeping the chest lifted, and then maybe work toward a straighter back leg. Warrior two, right heel comes down, left foot comes in a little bit. Keep a nice long stride in your stance. Flip that front palm up, straighten the front leg and reach back, reverse triangle. Extended side angle. Send that left thigh forward, left forearm, left thigh, right arm reaches up and over. And you can use that left forearm to guide the left knee if you're having any issues with it caving in toward the big toe. Warrior two. Hands come down to the mat. Any way you want, back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, walk, hop, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, come into chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose. You choose how you want to get to downward facing dog. Right foot steps up between the hands, warrior one. Hop that back foot in, seal the heel down, arms reach forward and up. Spin that left inner thigh back behind you, right inner thigh lengthens forward. As much of a back bend as feels good in your body. Keep that belly hugging in. Maybe you look up. Maybe the hands come together if you don't have anything going on in the lower back. Next, exhale, bring the hands back down to the mat. Optional vinyasa on the way to downward facing dog. Right away, left foot steps up between the hands, right heel down, warrior one. Press down through both heels, lift up through the chest, fingertips, maybe the gaze goes up too. Square as much as you can forward. If you did it on the first side, bring the hands together. Next, exhale, hands come back down to the mat, step back to plank pose, work your way through a vinyasa. Few breaths here in downward facing dog. Then bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Back to chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. So one more round of a traditional classic Surya Namaskar B, just what we did. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose. Maybe a vinyasa, you can skip them whenever you want. Downward facing dog. Right foot steps up, left heel down, warrior one. Exhale, bring the hands back down to the mat, make your way back, downward facing dog. Left foot steps up between the hands, right heel down, warrior one on your inhale. It's a big, long inhale. Exhale, hands come back down to the mat, back to plank pose, down dog, vinyasa. And a few breaths here in downward facing dog. And bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up between the hands, coming back into your forward fold. But this time, heel toe the feet a little bit wider or as wide as you need to go to come into a yogi squat, malasana. So heels in, toes out, unless you can point the toes forward. That is more traditional, but for most of us, we need to keep the heels in, toes out. If the heels are lifted, roll up the mat and place that underneath the heels to give yourself that cushion underneath the heels. And if that's not an option, you can always just keep the hands down in front of you, lengthen the spine, and heels can stay up, and you're still getting a nice hip opening with support. Otherwise, elbows are helping the knees stay open. You're also lifting the chest. Trying to stay focused on one spot in front of you wherever you're looking without moving the eyes, just focusing on your breath. Good. Then bring the hands down in front of you, straighten the legs, and then turn the toes to point forward. Walk back if you're all the way at the top of your mat like me, so that there's about a third of the mat in front of you. Bring the heels in and the toes out. Start to come up high onto the balls of the feet. The heels are still touching. And then lower the chest as far as you can go. We're playing with crow pose, Bakasana. So hands are down on the mat. They're at least shoulder width distance apart. I turn my index fingers out to give my shoulders more space. I think it feels great, and it also just gives you better structure. Look forward the entire time. Lift the hips, but stay low with the chest. And then start to shift as much weight as you can into the hands and the arms without lifting the toes away from the mat. Hug the core in to begin to bring the feet together. And maybe you just lift one foot and then the other. Those knees are squeezing the arms, and the arms are pressing back into the knees, so they're connecting. Heels are going up toward the hips as high as they can. Then set the feet back down, straighten the legs, maybe walk back up to the top of the mat if you scooted it back and you're in a forward fold. Let's take a wider forward fold. So move the feet out to the outer edges of the mat, clasp opposite elbows, let the head and the neck go. Some of you might find comfort in swaying side to side. Then switch the clasp of the hands. Hands come back down in front of you, heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, downward facing dog with or without a vinyasa. Right leg goes up and back, open up the hip, bend the knee. Step the right foot forward, up between the hands, feet hip width distance apart, crescent pose. Take your time, reach the arms all the way up. Maybe you put a bend in that back knee, bringing it back to crescent pose with the straighter back leg. Open it up, warrior two. Flip the front palm up, reverse triangle, straighten the front leg, reach up and back. Start to send that right knee forward, right forearm, right thigh, left arm reaches up and over. You're welcome to take it deeper and bring the hand inside the foot if that feels like a good option for you today. Block underneath the hand is great too. Back to warrior two. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Make your way back, downward facing dog. Left leg reaches up and back, open up the hip, bend the knee. Left foot up between the hands. Runner's lunge. Take your time coming up into crescent pose. Maybe put a bend in that back knee, keep the chest lifted. Back to crescent. Warrior two. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, reverse triangle. Send that left knee forward, left forearm, left thigh, right arm reaches up and over. Baddha Konasana, extended side angle. Whatever arm variation you did on the first side, if it felt good, try it on this side. Back up, warrior two. Windmill the hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, make your way back, downward facing dog. Few breaths in dog. Then bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up on the inhale. Coming up to standing, hands come together at the very top, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Walk the feet back so you have plenty of mat in front of you. Turn the heels in, toes out. Lift the heels up high, and then you can just come into like a crow stretch pose. You'll start to walk the hands forward, keep the chest low. The lower, really the whole body is already in the crow shape. You just have the arms out way in front of you. And this is a really nice stretch. You're getting a lot of the benefits of crow pose with the hip opening and the length in the spine. And you can feel that rounding in the spine here too. We want to play with that when we're in the actual arm balance. So we'll give it one more try if you're up for it. Otherwise, you stay right here and you wait till we're done. So you'll look forward, keep the chest low, start to walk the hands back as far as you can until the legs and the arms connect. Those knees have to come up as high as you can get them. Squeeze the body with the knees, look way forward, hug the belly in, shift the weight forward into the hands and the arms. Arms are like chaturanga, and then bring the feet up toward the hips. Keep squeezing the arms, chest is nice and proud, and you're still looking forward with the breath, evenly going in through the nose, back out through the nose. Set the feet back down if you're in the arm balance. If you're in the stretch, walk the hands back. We'll all come back to a forward fold, straighten the legs, walk the feet forward. Let's keep it a wide-legged forward fold. So heel toe the feet to the outer edges of the mat. You can clasp opposite elbows again, or interlace the fingers behind the back. Shoulders move away from the ears. And then switch the grip of the forearms or the weaving of the fingers. Hands come back down to the mat, heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. Inhale up one more time, Ardha Uttanasana. Then exhale, hands to the mat any way you want, back to downward facing dog. Right leg goes up and back, open up the hip, bend the knee if that's working for you. Right foot steps up between the hands, runner's lunge, take it up to crescent pose, reach the arms up. Bend the back knee, keep the chest lifted, back up to crescent pose. Left heel down, warrior two. Flip the front palm, straighten the front leg, reach up and back, reverse triangle. Start to send that right knee forward, extended side angle. Left arm reaches way up and over, root down through that left leg, open up across the chest. Back to warrior two. Bring the hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Make your way back, downward facing dog. Just the other side. Left leg reaches up and back. Open up the hip, bend the knee, stay even in the upper body. Left foot steps up between the hands. Crescent pose in your own time. Bend the back knee. Back to crescent pose, warrior two. Flip the front palm up, straighten the front leg, reach up and back. Start to send that left knee forward, extended side angle. Reach that right arm forward, over the ear. Back to warrior two. Hands down to the mat, make your way back, downward facing dog. So taking a few breaths in your downward facing dog, getting lots of length in the arms and the legs and the spine. This time, lift the right leg up and back. You don't have to open up the hip or the knee. Just step that right foot all the way through up between the hands and set the back knee down onto the mat. Up to you if you want those back toes tucked or the top of the foot on the mat. It's really whichever one feels more comfortable. Reach the arms all the way up. So now you're in a low lunge. Hands come together right in front of the heart. Keep the chest and the head over the hips. Just open the chest to the right. So you're coming into a twist, but you're not leaning forward yet. So feel all that length in the spine with that twist. See if you can keep it as you start to lean forward. Left elbow can tap the right thigh. It can go outside of the thigh. Some of you might be able to take it even deeper and get that the left underarm outside of the thigh. And if that's the case, then you would open up the arms wide. You can open up the arms wide even here if you'd like. So back knee is down, but you could lift it up. We really just want you to have the twist more than anything else. If you've got a lot of gas left in the tank, then lift the back knee up and find your twist that way. Opening up the arms also intensifies the pose. Just go where you can breathe, enjoy the twist wherever you have it. Then look back down at the mat. If the arms are open, bring the hands back together. We'll all bring the hands down to the mat, shifting into half splits. So shift the hips back, come up onto the front toes, push the heel forward. And it's like you're trying to stretch that chest over the right toes. Come back onto the sole of the right foot, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, step straight back to downward facing dog, lift the left leg up, step the left foot forward up between the hands, set the back knee down, reach the arms all the way up. Feel that length in the spine. Bring the hands together down in front of the heart. Just open the chest to the left. Stay upright to start. Feel the twist in the spine here. Should feel pretty good. Start to lean forward. You're trying to maximize length as you twist. So play with that. Maybe the right elbow just stays on top of the thigh. Maybe it goes outside of the thigh. Maybe you go even deeper. Maybe you keep the back knee down, or maybe you tuck the back toes and lift it. So probably whatever you did on the first side, unless it's not working on this side. Hands come back together. If you open them, look back down at the mat, bring the hands down to the mat, half splits. Bring the hips back till you can lift the left toes, push those toes forward till the hips are side by side, and then reach the chest forward to take the rounding out of the upper back. Come back onto the sole of the left foot, bring the hands down to the mat and step back to downward facing dog. Once you get to downward facing dog, take a big inhale in through the nose, sigh it out the mouth. Knees come down to the mat, bring the feet over to one side, come onto your back. So you'll probably need to scoot yourself forward onto your mat so that when you lie down, your head's still on the mat. Setting up for bridge pose, heels walk in toward the hips, grab the outer edges of the mat like you're going to pull it apart, press into the feet, lift the hips up, shoulder blades underneath you, keep the edges of the mat or interlace the fingers underneath you coming into your bridge pose. And slowly start to release. Bring the hips back down to the mat. Rest here for a couple of breaths. We're doing 2 more rounds. You can stick with bridge pose. If you want to take something deeper, you're welcome to. When you're ready, press into the feet, lift the hips up, back to bridge pose, unless you're moving on to something else. Also, a block underneath the hips for supported bridge is always welcome for your back bend. Next, exhale, bring the hips back down to the mat. Take a couple of breaths. Notice if the heart rate's picking up, which is normal with a back bend. Final round when you're ready. Press into the feet, lift the hips up. This is it. Setting you up for your best day. See if you can lift and spread the chest, lengthen the whole front side of the body and the back side of the body. That's your support to lengthen the front side. Then slowly release, bring the hips back down to the mat and scoot the hips over to the right. Bring the knees over to the left, coming into your easy spinal twist. So right arm reaches outside of the shoulder. Gaze can maybe fall over that right arm if the neck feels okay. You'll start to switch sides, bring the head back to center, use the feet, start to move the hips in the other direction. Knees come over to the right, left arm reaches out to the left. Making your way back onto your back, get the hips underneath you so you feel centered. Cross the right ankle on top of the left thigh. Thread the needle. Maybe bring the legs in. Keep that right foot flexed as you press the right knee away from you. Set the left foot down, then the right foot, switch sides, cross the left ankle on top of the right thigh, keep that left foot flexed, and then bring the right knee in, reach through, grab the top of the shin or back of the thigh. And if you feel like you're leaning over to the left side, try to find center on the hips, staying in the stretch. Right foot comes down to the mat, left foot comes down to the mat. Hug both knees in toward the chest. Take happy baby, open up the knees wide, reach through, grab whatever's there. So you can grab the outer edges of the feet, but if it feels like it's too much of a stretch, sometimes people feel more comfortable grabbing the inner edges of the feet, backs of the calves, backs of the thighs even works. Just keep the hips down toward the mat. They want to curl up. Rocking side to side keeps it playful. Then bring the knees back in toward the chest. Bring the nose up toward the knees and then reach the arms forward. So you're curled up in a tight little ball, but the arms are reaching forward. Keep the chest lifted as you extend the legs out in front of you, hovering the heels over the mat. And you're back in your favorite pose, Ardha Navasana, for 3, 2, 1, Shavasana. Separate the feet, set the head back down, arms by the sides, start to relax the body, coming right into stillness in your corpse pose. If you prefer to do a seated meditation, that's always welcome. wherever you are, just finding some peace and quiet within the home of your body. And then maybe taking that peace and quiet in a different direction and moving away from the physical body. You'll start to find some movement in the hands and the feet if you're in Shavasana. If you're in your meditation, stay still. We'll all be there in a second. Shavasana, you'll reach the arms overhead, stretching out through the feet, getting really long on your mat. Then bend the legs, bring the feet in. Starting to make your way over to your right side if that's comfortable, cradling the head and the arm. Using the hands to bring yourself up to your meditation seat. Eyes closed, sitting up tall. Bringing the hands together in front of you, bowing the head, taking a moment to honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thanks so much. Hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.